Welcome to Superhero Pow. I'm your host nerd, Tom Fremgen. So, what should we do today? I know, let's do another Best Cartoon Award show, where we'll hand out fictitious awards for the best action show, the best comedy show, the best new show, and the dreaded worst new show to animated series of years gone by. And as always, we try to factor in the quality of the animation, the scripts, the designs, voice work, and the music. And of course, being Superhero Pow, we usually skew more towards adventure cartoons. C'est la vie. This time, let's check out all the new shows from 1976, the bicentennial of the good old USA. As for animation, well, the only game in town was Saturday morning cartoons. First-run syndicated cartoons were long over, nothing was really going on in prime time, and there wasn't even very much going on in the movie theaters either, unless you count the very weird Everybody Rides the Carousel and the even weirder Once Upon a Girl, an adult fairy tale thing. So Saturday morning was the only place for cartoons, except basically half the shows this season were live action. The trend started in 1974 with Shazam, and this season it really hit its zenith, or zenith, however you prefer. Now mind you, it wasn't all bad, I suppose. Some of them were very memorable and fun, if not good. Anyway, let's check out those lineups. Now, CBS only had 2 new cartoon shows, but both of them were quite good. The first one was Filmation's Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle, the famous hero based on the Edgar Rice Burroughs novels. And Filmation's adaptation was closer to the books than most, using the Kima instead of cheetah and having Tarzan speak perfect English as well as Mangani, Burroughs' guerrilla language. Tarzan would run for 3 seasons and then remain in reruns for another 3 years. Then there was Hanna-Barbera's yet another Scooby-Doo clone, Clue Club, which featured 2 dogs, Woofer and Whimper, who could talk to each other if not their human companions. Then CBS had one returning show, Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, featuring the talent of He Who Should Not Be Named, in their 4th season. Then for theatrical short reruns, they had the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show in its quote-unquote 15th season. This season, they also tried to give Sylvester and Tweety their own show, but by 1977, they were back in Bugs Bunny's show. Now in live action, CBS had the man who started it all, Captain Marvel, in his 3rd season of Shazam, though now played by John Davey. And his sister show, The Secrets of Isis, was in its 2nd season. Then new to the party was Arc 2. Set in the 25th century, the last bastion of advanced civilization reached out to the rest of the post-apocalyptic world in a high-tech mobile van? The show is also famous for highlighting a real jetpack, the Bell Rocket Belt, which could actually let a man fly for about 20 seconds. The Bell Rocket Belt was first seen in the 1965 James Bond movie Thunderball. I tell you, Filmation is always thinking. Moving over to NBC, they just had one new cartoon, a new short mixed into Patty Freeling's 8th season of the Pink Panther theatrical shorts rerun show. If you can believe it, the Pink Panther was still getting shorts made for the theater at this time too. New to the show was the Tijuana Toads, who had wrapped up their theatrical run in 1972. Though, to be more culturally sensitive, it was revoiced and renamed Texas Toads. Either way, it was still pretty funny. But added new to the show was Patty Freeling's first made-for-TV short, Mr. Jaw. Clearly produced to jump on the shark craze created by Steven Spielberg's movie Jaws from last year. The typical, not as great as he thinks he is, Mr. Jaw, and his flunky catfish would get into various food-acquiring adventures as Mr. Jaw loved to jump out of the water and scare people by yelling, "Gotcha!" "Shark! Shark!" A superior cartoon for the day, and the last cartoon directed by the Warner Brothers legend, Robert McKinnison. For other theatrical short rerun shows, NBC also had The Woody Woodpecker Show, which was finally coming to the end of its on the air, off the air, on the air, off the air run, which started all the way back in 1957. As for live action shows, NBC was big on it, with 5 new shows. McDuff the Talking Dog, which is kind of misleading as it was a ghost dog who could talk and like only one person could even see him. Next there was Monster Squad, created by Stanley Ralph Ross, the guy who created the 1960s Batman TV show. The show was about wax statues of the classic monsters coming to life and fighting crime. Why not? Then there was Big John Little John, created by Sherwood Schwartz, the guy who created the Brady Bunch. His show was about a school teacher who, at any moment, could turn into a little kid, and hilarity would ensue. Next, The Kids from Caper was a very broad, zany comedy of 4 teenagers who helped the police solve crimes. Lastly, there was Muggsy, about a young girl, Muggsy, and her older cab driver brother growing up without parents and living in an old moving van. Yikes. Well, unfortunately for NBC, none of these 5 shows made it to a second season. But for a returning show, they had their one hit. From Sid and Marty Krofft, Land of the Lost in its 3rd and final season. The one where Dad was replaced because he wanted more money. Lastly, ABC had basically 4 new shows, starting with Mumbly, which was basically the return of Muttley, Dick Dastardly's sidekick from the Wacky Races, and the Dick Dastardly and Muttley Show. But for whatever reason, they changed his name to Muttley, and he became a somewhat Columbo-inspired police detective, or lieutenant. Though not so much as solving crimes as just chasing bad guys of various sorts around before taking them to jail. And I'm pretty sure his boss is supposed to be Kojak-inspired. Mumbly was packaged together with reruns of last season's The Tom and Jerry Show and The Grape Ape. Next was Jabberjaw, again clearly jumping on the Jaws bandwagon. Hanna-Barbera spun the Scooby-Doo formula again, or maybe this time it was closer to Josie and the Pussycats, as Jabberjaw, a large walking and talking great white shark, was the drummer for a rock band, the Neptunes. And I would be remiss if I didn't point out the cowardly Jabberjaw often spoke like Curly of the Three Stooges, while using the comedian Rodney Dangerfield's catchphrase.
No respect again, not even from a little goldfish.
Then, after years of reruns, Scooby-Doo was back with a new show, The Scooby-Doo Show, which ran for 3 seasons. And this first season introduced Scooby's slow-witted cousin, Scooby-Dum. The Scooby Show was also packaged with Dynomutt, Dog Wonder, who was an Inspector Gadget-like dog to the Batmanish hero, the Blue Falcon. The show was loaded with Dynomutt's buffoonery as the straight man Blue Falcon took on various supervillains. Scooby-Doo and the gang would also guest star in a few episodes. Lastly, ABC tried to bring out the big guns with a live-action show from Sid and Marty Krofft, The Krofft Super Show, which featured a rock band host, Captain Cool and the Kongs, plus 3 different live-action shorts in this 1-hour show. First, there were 3 people trapped on an island, shrunk to mouse size, and chased by the evil scientist in Dr. Shrinker, which co-starred the great Billy Barty. Next, there was the 2-part superhero adventures of Electra Woman and Dyna Girl, which was played more like Adam West's Batman than Filmation's Shazam. Then, the only one to get a second season was Wonder Bug, about a magical dune buggy helping teenagers get out of various troubles. Oh, and the Super Show also tossed in some reruns of The Lost Saucer from last season as well. All right, believe it or not, but that was it. Only 7 new shows. Seems pretty crazy to think that this was supposed to be the heyday of Saturday morning cartoons. Anyway, let's hand out some awards. The best action cartoon for 1976 is Dynomutt Dog Wonder. Now, yes, but I like to spread the trophies around, so while Dynomutt himself was a goof, there's no denying that the Blue Falcon is about as cool as a superhero as you can get. And just like the 1960s Thunderbirds, he had his Falcon car stored under his swimming pool.
Blue Falcon, Dog Wonder.
Yes, there's no denying that this is yet another great-looking show designed by the legendary Alex Toth. And as far as Alex Toth's superhero designs go, the Blue Falcon is second only to Space Ghost. So, a good superhero show with a heavy dose of slapstick. Now, before we pick the best comedy, I want to give an honorable mention to Clue Club, because it's just loaded with funny quips like this.
Nice going, Dee Dee.
I'm not as dumb as you think.
There's no way you could be.
But the best comedy cartoon for 1976 actually goes to Jabberjaw, because the band in trouble setup is just pushed to 11 in this show, with the curly talking giant shark making it all more fun than it really should be. Plus, the dim-witted Bubbles is totally inspired by the famous comedian Gracie Allen, the wife of George Burns.
Find anything, Bubbles?
No, but that's okay. I forgot what we were looking for.
Plus, the futuristic designs and supervillains all look great. To which we should mention that the show was designed by Bob Singer, a guy who could do great action and funny very well. Jabberjaw is just 20 minutes of goofiness, music, and chasing fun.
Gee, a great white shark turned into a great white goldfish? No respect.
Now, before we get to the best new show, here is the worst new show. And I gotta say, it was a hard one. I mean, with only 7 shows to choose from, and it's like each show was worked on by an A-team, there kinda really isn't a worst show. But if you gotta have one, how about the reruns of the Tom and Jerry show? As the first Tom and Jerry cartoons crushed by the non-violent, non-imitatable acts law of the FCC. To the point of, what's the point? But I gotta say, I still remember the Pipsqueak Bird episode. Okay, now the best new cartoon show for 1976 is Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle. As if it could be anyone else. Tarzan is Filmation's big return to action and adventure, and basically proves that they do it better than anyone else. The scripts were good enough, with Tarzan just walking around like a boss, settling misunderstandings and villains.
Free the girl, and you may pass. I have no quarrel with you if you free the girl. Pagoda Kalan.
And the animation was second to none, as a masterclass on how to do rotoscope, as Tarzan still looks like a cartoon character and not like some weirdly traced actor. The animals all look great, and sure, with a lot of Filmation shows, they reuse a lot of animation. But for my money, that animation looks great and deserves to be seen again. Well, there you are. A lean year, but still a good one. And what do you think of our picks? Did you watch all those shows? I was a wee man, but I think I managed to watch all of them, as I often skip the live-action shows. Well, except for Shazam and Isis and Electro Woman because, superheroes. Either way, Thanks for spending time with me, and I hope you enjoyed this stroll down memory lane. And if you could be so kind to like, subscribe, and notify, I promise not to show you the right way to put your nuts in a vise. Because there is no right way.